So I've once again reverse engineered Google Calendar, and once again, I want to put some respect on this app. This app does not get enough respect. It gets riddled for being ugly, for being a little slow, for not having dark mode, for not having a desktop app. And that's all true. However, it's just so dang good that I don't care. I'm going to speed run the technical overview and then explain just why I love it and what we can learn from it as engineers. Here's architecture. We have our app, our client-side app. Images are in cached store for like your profile image, or actually no, the profile image is in the CDN. Cache store images would be, I forget. Definitely the fonts are there. IndexedDB is used for offline mode. Poke around at that in a sec. The HTML is actually kind of smart. Like usually HTML is just whatever, but you have to set it up in a certain way where the grids, the columns, the different layers work but don't affect each other and mess up performance. The JavaScript, no framework. They have no framework. It's just straight up JavaScript. The CSS, no framework. Classes. Bulma, no. Bootstrap, no. Style components, no. Tailwind, no. CSS, classes. And then the JavaScript calls the classes like it used to be. And then libraries, hardly any. They developed their own compiler far before TypeScript came along. Instead of transpiling from one language to a different subset of the language, it just optimizes JavaScript code, minifies it, gets out comments, stuff like that. So shared utilities and things, but otherwise super lightweight on the front end. The API side is where I think it really shines, as Google API is primitive. It has all the building blocks you would need with no fluff. My beef here is that the docs are also very primitive. I think they could have made it a lot more approachable without having to change the API at all. However, they do have an interactive playground on their doc side, and it's gotten a lot better. So the API itself is simple, very simple. Like, it's amazing how few methods there even are for how much you can do with it. Their API behind the scenes calls other Google APIs, and so does the front end. Google Meet, Google Contacts, and an authentication. And auth is super important with sensitive calendar data. They pull it off with scopes, reads and writes based on different resources. And these resources are the things that dictate what checkboxes you check when you're authenticating with OAuth. And then finally, these APIs are supported by services like a heartbeat service, make sure it's up and running, an eventing service that helps with the pub sub, like event webhook notification stuff, and then notifications themselves. Beautiful. Like, so I have a deeper dive long form video that you can look up on this channel if you want to see some of the code and dive in a little deeper. But let's just poke around here because it's going to feed into the point I'm about to make. Here's the HTML. It's not simple, or it's not short, I'll say. There's a lot going on. So just think about, all these events, how to test it. Look at all these columns. There's layers for like when you have to drag a task over here that can't be constrained to just a certain part of the grid. Then you have like popovers and things at this root level that has to show up when you delete an event. Then you have all this tooling, and it's not simple, believe me. Let's look at the storage now. Application. So I recently, right before this, turned on offline mode. So in IndexedDB, I should have some data here. Here we go, offline data. Really nicely labeled, like it's simple. I don't have any habits, but I should, yeah, they're all my events. Just based on, looks like calendar. I don't know what this ID means, but here's the data. It's all stringified, so it's hard to see. But this is what lets it work if the internet's still down. I didn't mention cache storage, but I believe there's still some cache stuff here. Okay, just a little bit. Some offline stuff. Yeah, your images. And then your basics. Here you go. Here you see the APIs that it's calling there under sessions and local storage. And now let's look at the JavaScript. I thought this was really interesting when I pulled it up, once I could find it. It's kind of jumbled, but one thing I thought was really cool is they have iPhone checks in here, iPhone, iPad, which tells me they're just using this code for mobile too. So, everyone has a separate code base, a separate team for mobile. They're just like, hey, if it's an iPhone based on this user agent, then we're gonna do iPhone stuff. It's like, it's so refreshing because it was made before all this complexity came around. The API itself was launched in 2006. So the client app, the public API, the client app has been going on. I don't even know how long, early 2000s, I bet. That was before React. That was before Svelte. That was before Next. That was before HTMX. That was before Angular. And when those other things came around, they're just like, nah, it works. It works, we're going to keep it. When everyone added dark mode, they're just like, nah, we're good. When everyone added PWAs and desktop apps, they're like, nah, we're just going to keep it how it is. And man, I respect him for it. I really do respect him for it. And a takeaway from me is that if it works, basically everything's forgiven. If it's reliable, if it's up, if it works, that's enough. That's enough, bro. Like, it doesn't have to be on every platform. You don't have to use the newest, latest, and greatest stuff. You don't have to be the fastest app on the market. It just has to work and help people. And we can't deny that Google Calendar helps consumers directly, all 2+ billion of us, but also it is the foundation of so many apps that have come after it. This is reality. This small API, Calendly, every premium calendar app, every one-off enterprise scheduling app, my app, Compass Calendar, for authentication and syncing. Anytime you got to create an iCal event, anytime you got to update it with Google, anytime you got to read from someone else's calendar, anytime you're sharing events, anytime you're scheduling with your teammates, anytime you're adding a Google Meet link to an event, it's all Google Calendar. The scheduling infrastructure of the internet is Google Calendar, and Microsoft and Apple, but mostly Google Calendar. And we can't respect it, and we can't respect that because it's not fancy, because it's not raising more VC, because it's not doing $1 billion in ARR. No, I can respect how simple it is, how long-standing it is, how reliable it is. There's beauty in simplicity, and after over a decade in this industry and getting drawn here and there by all the hype cycles, it's really refreshing to see a product that just lasts based on simplicity and good engineering Good engineering and complexity do not have to go together. In fact, I'd argue the more complicated something is, the less good it is. Google Calendar, shout out these guys. Put some respect on their name, okay? Appreciate them. All right, y'all. Blog in the description for a deeper dive. Search the long form video in the description if you want to see the breakdown there. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for your time.